Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video we are going to see how to integrate an API for the users to log in or register into your game. And this game or this project is built with constructive game engine. So most of the games we would like to have some user authentication, and if you have your own database and with the API you might want to implement within your game, right? So I will explain it to you what API demo I'm using and how does it work. So I have created a test account to show you how this works. Okay, let's try to log in first. So created a demo account. So if I click on login, it should take me to the user page and it will show you the username, role, email, and bio. Image I haven't added anything, so it is showing as null. So if I click on add logout, it should take me to the login screen. And if the user doesn't have the account, they can click on this text here, don't have the account, register here. If they click on this one, it will take me to the register page, and if I again click on this text, it should take me to the login screen. Okay, so let's try to create one account now. Okay, so demo I already created, so the demo 1 2. Now let's create demo 3, Sudeep3 at demo.com. I don't know what is governor, right? So it is the requirement given by the API, demo API. So by default they are suggesting it as 0. Is example 20 I take it. So gender, it is taking only numbers, probably 1 could be male, 2 could be female. So if I click on register, right, so I have registered a new account, name Sudeep, role user, and email Sudeep3 at demo.com. So if I click on logout, it will take me back to login screen. Let's see if I log in. Perfect, it worked, right? So this is the project. So I provided this project link in the description as well as the comments. Can get it, get the source code from there, or if you want to follow this tutorial and do it by yourself, that is also fine. Okay, so the API I'm using here is fooddemo.com /docs, and you can see the HTTP request for login and register to get the user details. So all of them are detailedly provided here. All you have to do is follow this tutorial and you can implement the same in your respective databases or your projects with your own database. And this is the collection.json, so you can test out in the Postman before implementing it in your project, or if you follow this tutorial, you can directly implement in your projects. So if you're not sure, maybe you can try it with Postman, that is recommended. Alright, so let's close this one and see how to build it from scratch. So before we continue, I have a small announcement. We have published a game called Life in the Machine. If you are one of our followers, you might already know about the game. And if not, Life in the Machine is a detective game that requires someone with tremendous skills to investigate a murder mystery, find clues, interrogate suspects, and find the criminal. The game is available in 2 versions. The Android version is on Google Play Store and Amazon App Store, and the Windows version is on itch.io and Steam. It is known that only a person with critical thinking can solve the case. Can you solve the case? Links in the description. All right, so let's start a new project. I'll call it as API login YouTube. Okay, let's create one. Okay, so let's call this layout as login and its event sheet as yes underscore login. Okay, so let's add a random color. Okay, I'll call this layer as BG. Let's add a sprite. So design is it's completely up to you. I'm just making a random design. All right. Position x is 720 by 2. Oh, I'm sorry, 1280 by 2, and y is 720 by 2. Puts it at the center. Okay, so I'll add a text here. So this could be your company name or anything you wanted to have it. I would like to use this text. Origin, let's put it as center. Vertical alignment center, horizontal alignment center. Okay, fine. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'll call this layer as details. Okay, I'll save it here. I'll call it as API login YouTube. Okay, done. So in order to log in, we would require two boxes, text boxes. So let's add two text boxes. So you can add your own sprites and have a text object on them to populate or type, record and show the user what they are typing, or it's easy to use a text input. Okay, so I'll call it as input email, and let's create one more for password. Okay, done. So let's put a placeholder. This is email and this is for password, and let's add a button to log in. Okay, done. So user will be adding their details here. And if they want to go to the register page, let's add text for that. So let's duplicate this one first, and I will call it as register. Let's add a event sheet for it as well. Okay, and let's align it to register. Done. So if I click on login, it should take me to the user detail page and show the user details. So let's create one more page called user details and create its own event sheet and tag that event sheet to the user details page. Okay, so when I click on login, if the credentials are correct, it will take me to the user details page. Okay, so we'll have to change this. And even for register, if user wants to register, we'll provide that option now. Register. Okay, don't have an account, register here. Okay, so this is the text we would like to show it to the users. Done. So if the user clicks anywhere in the text, it should take me to the register screen. And in the register screen, we have to build the register screen. So in the API reference, if I check the register option, it requires name, email, password, passport confirmation, governorate, okay, age and gender. Okay, so governorate, age and gender, both are, all three are integers, rest all are strings. Name is a string and email is email, password is password. And you can see the example here. So this is how it is. So once we click on add those details and click on register, the response is 200, which is okay, successful. We'll get the access token and token type is barrier, and we'll have to use these two to log in the user to fetch their user details, right? And this is how the user details looks like. We need to pass them into JSON and show it to the user. Similarly, if you check the API login, it will give you 200 code, which is successful, and it will take you to the, it will show you 401 error if it is not successful. And we'll see how to implement this one. So let's start with the API login. So let's use the same email and password. So let's use this password and email from the demo. So first we would require a URL. Let's create a global variable. So I'll call it as login link. Okay, so this is the login link and we have to use it to log in the user. And if user starts typing email and password, we need to catch them. So there are different ways of doing it. I would like to create multiple text inputs because it's easy to use them, or else you can also create one text input and add a instant variable saying it's an email, it is related to email, and this one is related to password. But let's keep it simple. So it helps you to understand if I create more text inputs. Okay, so in text input, if it is email and on text change, which means that if I add any text, so that will be triggered and we will add that value to the email. Oh, I did not create the email. Okay, I'm sorry. So this will be added to the email string. Similarly, we would require for password. Okay, set value of email to the text input email dot text. Similarly, we would need to do for password. Done. Okay, so I'll show you how it works. If I go debug the layout, okay, so email and password, you can see the global variables here, right? So here, if I type email, okay, sudeep@demo.com. So and password, if I enter password, oh, I'm sorry, I think this is password, this is email. Okay, I'm sorry, this should be password. And also we need to change the type to email, and this one should be password. Okay, let me debug, go to debug layout again. So email, now it's empty. Okay, you can see the email now. And password, so you can see it is hidden, whereas in the global variables you can see the password, right? So when you send these details to your server, it is better to encode them and send it just for safety. But in this demo, let's put it simple. So now we have username and password. So when I click on the login button, it has to send the details to this API details to the server and fetch the user details. So if it is successful, we'll get the access token, and with the access token you should paste the user details. Okay, so now click on button. When you click on button, now these details are to be sent in the JSON format. Okay, so all the details are in the JSON format, right? So now you need to use a JSON. Let's create JSON, and I will call it as login. Okay, so when the user clicked on the button, let's convert them into JSON format and send it to the API. So first we need to set value. Here it is. Okay, so this is for array. I'm sorry. So let's see. Modifies an array. Okay, so path is email.com and this one is email. The parameter doesn't take a string. I'm checking, I get confused all the time. So insert value modifies an error. This is an array. Set value. Okay, this is the one, I guess. Okay, right, this is the one. So the next one is password, and it should be password. Okay, so we need to send email and password in this format, in the JSON format. Okay, so this would be the body, and before sending it we would need to add the headers, content type application/JSON and accept application/JSON to this URL. Okay, so we would require AJAX for that, and in AJAX what we need to do, we have to set the header first. Set request header. Let's simply copy paste this one. So first one is content type. The value is application/JSON. The next one is accept application/json, right? So this is done. So now we need to post the details to the API, to the URL. Okay, so Ajax will go to post to URL, and let's call the tag as login. URL is login link, and the data is JSON login underscore. Okay, to compact string. Okay, so let's see. And if we need to catch the error or success, if I go to Ajax, and you can see if it is completed, tag is login. So we use the tag, we set the tag as login, right? So here similarly we do that, and let's add a browser to log that. So in browser, let's log ajax dot last data. So this will give you the details if the login is successful or failure, and if it is not completed, and if it is on error, same again we'll log the ajax last data, which is an error. Okay, let's try this now again. Okay, so I opened the console. So let's see. Okay, so I added a wrong password now. Let's see what happens. So now you're getting a message saying credentials not match, and the request, the API is working. You can see that. So you're getting 401 unauthorized. So if I go back to API reference, so in the API login you can see 401 is the given data was invalid, and within the error the email field is required. So if they missed out any email field, that is what the message will get. So if I remove email field and password, try to log in, see what happens. So you can see the message, the given data was invalid, the email field is required, password field is required. Okay, so this is not a new message, everyone knows about it. So what I want to do is I'll add one more text here. Okay, I'll call it as invalid email or password. Okay, and let's put it as color as red. Okay, so on start of layout, let's put the text to empty. Okay, so we have different text. These are all from same object text. So if I set this to empty, all the other text will become empty. So I want to add this text only to empty. So for that we have a unique ID which is 21 for this text object. So if I right click, you'll see sub event, and in text go for unique ID. Unique ID is 21 for this object. Okay, done. So when there is an error, okay, simply add this one, invalid username or password. I hope it's clear so far. I can again preview the project. Okay, if I try to log in, it will say invalid email or password. So if I provide the proper details, if I try to log in, you got the access token. You see that, which means successful. So once you get the access token, you need to parse it into JSON object and send a request to the server to fetch the user details with this token ID. Okay, let's do that. So before that, let's customize this one. Let's remove these two, and this will be logout. Okay, fine. So here we can get the fetch details and display it to user here, but before that we have to catch the details and pass it into a JSON and get the user details. So for that I will create one more JSON. Let's duplicate this one. So JSON login, instead of login I will say I'll say access token. Okay, so once we get the login details, we post the details in JSON to the server, and once we get this access code or access token, we need to use that access token to get the user details. Okay, so if the login is completed, if it is successful, JSON underscore access token parse ajax dot last data. Okay, so let's see what happens. Okay, not this one. Okay, so demo.com. Okay, you can see the access token type is bearer. So if I go to access token here, now these details are in the JSON underscore access token, right? So now we can use this access token. Now we need to get this access token, copy this into different ID or different variable and token type into different variable, and we need to post these details to the API. So I'll create two more variables. So password, I'll call it as access underscore token, and this will be token underscore type. Okay, let's copy this one. Okay, so if I put this here, you can see this is called JSON beautified, which means it correctly aligns for us to easy to read it, and this is a raw format, and this is a beautified format. And you can see if I click on any of the items, you can see that how to fetch the details. So now if I need to get access token, this is the key and this is the value, and if I want to get a token underscore type, this is the key and this is the value. Okay, so now we need to add those details here. So once the details are passed into JSON, let's put those values into the variables. So access token will be JSON access token dot get of dot access underscore token. Okay, similarly token type would be token underscore type. So we'll have to exactly provide the access token and access token type keywords exactly without any spelling mistakes. Okay, so let's see if these two values are added to these two variables. Okay, let's see, let's try to use their email ID and password. So if I use demo@demo.com and their password is password, and if I log in, so we got the access token, and those values should be in the access token variables. See, access token, you can see it is added to this one, and token type is bearer. Now it is added to the variable, right? I hope it's clear so far. Now we need to post these details to this link so that we can fetch the user details. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this is login link, and this one is user link. I'll call it as user link. Okay, so now what we need to do, we need to post these details in Ajax. So what we need to use, get request. So I'll go to request URL. Tag would be, I'll say it as user, and URL is user link. I'm sorry, not this one. Okay, so method is get and data would be blank. So before sending these details, we need to add the headers. So if I see this one, there are two headers provided. So let's add those request headers, and along with that we need to add one more header because it requires authentication. So for authentication, we'll have to add the header as authorization. Okay, and value will be token type, and this one would be access token. Okay, so basically the header will look like so it will look like bearer space okay, so the value will be bearer space access token. So that is how we need to send it, the header authorization. Okay, so let's add one more Ajax function. When user is completed, let's catch that and log it into the browser. Only for testing purpose. If you are in production, don't log it into browser. Okay, let's see how it works now. Okay, demo@demo.com, password is password, and if I click on login, now we got the access token, and with the access token you can see the full details of the user. So if I paste it here, you can see the data, right? Full name is demo, role is user, email is demo@demo.com, and you can fetch all these details, right? So the first part is successful. Now we need to fetch those details into the user details. So once it is successful, let's do one thing. Let's create one more JSON. User data. Okay, I'll call it as user data. And once it is successful, let's pass the data into user data. Okay, because it is working fine, I will stop the console, stop logging them. So if I don't stop logging them in production, anyone can steal the data. So even now, because it's a demo and I created demo test accounts, I'm showing you all the access details, but I would never show it to you. Even you would never show your details to anyone, right? So we have to be careful. Alright, so now once we user details is completed and the data is passed to JSON user data. So let's go to the layout, user details. Now user is taken to this details. So now what we have to do, all these details, we need to find a way to display them, right? So full name, user, email. So let's try to focus on these three for now. Based on them you can do it yourself. Okay, so I'll create one more string called full underscore name, and the other one role underscore name. Okay, so excuse me. Okay, so let's put those values here. So email, let's start with name. So the value would be JSON underscore user data dot get of. So we need to provide the path. So if I click on the full name here, the path is data full name. So earlier there was no subset like data, it was direct path. So here we need to add data as well. So data would be data dot full underscore name. So the next one would be email. Similarly, it would be data dot email. The next one is role. It's role, data dot role underscore name, right? And let's display them in the user details. So in user details, the start of the event, I want the text to be populated as, first one is name, this would be full name, add a new line, this one is email, and this one is role. Okay, done. Okay, let's see how it works now. demo@demo.com, password is password, and if I log in, perfect, right? It's working fine. So now we fetch the name, email, and the role is user. Okay, so at the beginning of the video you might think that I'm using the same details entered here, saving it somewhere and displaying it in the user details. So now you can see I'm actually pulling it from the API, right? So similarly you can use it for your own games. So you can see the heading, it has changed to name demo. Let's change that. So let's pick it based on UID. So this UID is 14. I'll go to sub event and UID is 14. Okay, done. So if I want to log out, there is one more API for that, and this is the link for logout. So here if I click on the button, user should be logging out and going back to the login screen, right? So for that we would require one more API link. This is a logout link, and okay, so now let's do the same. So here, what are the requirements? You need to send a header, details with the header, and this one also requires authentication, right? So when I click on the button, first we need to provide the request headers with authentication, just we did for the login screen, right, to fetch the user details. So let's simply copy this one, go back to user details, paste it here. So content type, accept, authorization, everything is ready. Instead of user link, I'll call it as logout, and this one is logout link, and the method is post, not get. Okay, so if you are familiar with HTML, JavaScript, it's very easy for you to understand, but if you are not familiar with that, so you might feel difficult to understand what is JSON, what is an API, and obviously this tutorial will not focus on explaining those things to you. So there are plenty of tutorials online, you can understand what are these terms from those tutorials. Okay, so now what we have to do, right, so once we post it, go to Ajax. Once it is completed, log out. Okay, once it is completed, let's log Ajax dot last data. And if it is not successful, console.log, I'll say logout error. Okay, and if it is successful, I would like to go back to the login screen. Okay, demo@demo.com, password is password, login. Okay, we are able to log in. Now we need to log out. Done. You see that? It's as easy as that. So now we are done with login and log out. Now we need to register the user. So I'll go to the register now. So here I have email password. So if I go to the API reference for registration, these are the fields which we would require. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Let me add a few more input boxes. So one for name, email, password, and password confirmation. So I'm adding full names because it's easy to understand for you. Otherwise I always use shortcuts. Okay, input governorate, done. Now we require for age and gender, total 7. Okay, done. Okay, let's extend this further. So the first field is name field, right? So this is name, so type would be text. So the next one is email, this is password, type would be password, this would be email. Okay, we can work on the alignment later. Okay, the next one is governorate. Still don't know what it is. Next one is not name. Next one is age, then gender, right? So okay, you can align it properly later. So I'm just adding it here in a random way. Okay, this one is register. Let's add this text here. So let's change it to already have an account. Login here. Okay, so in login, so if users click on here, it should go to register. So let's do that with UID, and for that we need to add one more object. You can add a mouse or touch. I prefer touch because it is useful on mobile as well. So if the user text the object text, and the text UID is 17. Oops. Text UID is 17. Now go to register. So let's copy this one, paste it in register as well, and in register the UID is 28. It's 28. Okay, so it will go to the login screen. Right, so now we need to do the same things which we have done in login screen. We could have used the same code for that, but just to make it clear for you, I'm using it again. So let's quickly build that. So let's copy these two just to save time. So email input email, when it has changed text, it sets the email variable, and if similarly we have to do with password confirmation. Oh, we did not create the variables for password confirmation. Full name we already have. Age, so age is string, not string, sorry, number. Cover or rate is also a number, and gender is also a number. So this will be name. So name we have created as full name, and this one is for governorate. And this one is for age, and this one is for gender. Okay, done. So the next one, what we have to do, we have to gather all these details and convert into JSON and post it to the API server and get it. If the user is registered, we have to use the access token to log in again and fetch the user details. Okay, so let's create one more JSON. Let's call it as register. Okay, so if I click on the button, so same thing, let's simply copy paste all of these items. So JSON, so here the JSON, well, one second. So here the JSON is login, not login, we need to replace it with register. Okay, so similarly what we have for email, we need to do for name is full name, email, and password. So it should be password underscore confirmation. Okay, so the next one is governorate. Age is age, and the next one gender. Okay, now we added all those details to JSON register. Now we need to send these details with these headers. So headers we already added here. So instead of JSON login, it will be JSON register. So tag also, let's replace it to register, and Ajax. So if it is completed, and similarly if it is an error. Okay, so once the registration is successful, again we need to get the access details. So similarly we can simply copy paste this one, copy this one, paste it here. Okay, so JSON underscore access token. So oh sorry, not here. Okay, so if the registration is successful, let's fetch all the details and parse it into access token, and access token, that values will be added to access token variables, and with the help of authorization and access token, we'll send a link to request to the API and fetch the user details. And for the user details, let's simply copy this one, paste it here. Okay, so as it's a same code, you can use functions or use the same event sheet you used for login, to save a lot of time. So because it's a small project, and to help you understand, I'm copy pasting everything. But if it is a long project, your project will not end with user authentication. You need to implement much more things, right? So for that you'll have to implement a lot of things. So it is better to use functions and other try to reduce as much as recoding. Once you have already existing code, try to use them. Okay, so I'm using the same details here. Okay, let's see how it goes. So if I want to register, I will create a new name, and demo 4. Oh, 1 second, I think I used the wrong. This is for the one item, this is for it. Okay, these are right input text, so I did not change the placeholder, and this one is for gender. Okay, so this is not password, this is number, and this one is also number, this one is also number. Okay, so age, let's add it as 20, and gender is 1. Okay, age is 20. Okay, I think I made a mistake. This one should be gender. Okay, let's reopen it again. So Sudeep, rate is 0, age let's say 20, gender is 1. If I click on register, let's see what happens. Credentials did not match. Okay, it will not match because I used the wrong link. Okay, so for register this is the link, my mistake. Okay, register link. Okay, so here it should be register link. Okay, right. Okay, now let's try to register again. Sudeep, email is sudeep4@demo. Password is something again. Governor rate is 0, age let's say 20, gender 1. Okay, let's see. Perfect. Now we received the access token, and the game used this access token to fetch the details of the user, and now you can see the name, email ID and user. If I click on logout, it should take me to the login screen. Perfect. And let's log in with the new ID, v4@demo.com, password, login. Perfect, right? It's done. Okay, so let's stop using console for validating user details. Okay, so everything is good now. So what if user reaches an error? So if there is an error in login screen, we are I'm sorry. Oh, okay, I forgot to. So in layout I need to reset all global variables, otherwise it is using the old variables. Okay, fine. So in login screen, if there is any wrong credentials or users did not add any details, so it is showing an error, right? Similarly, we need to show the error for register as well. Let's copy this one, paste this one here. Okay, so similarly at the start of the later, copy this one. Oh god. So here it is 31, so the instant variable will be here 31, right? And if there is any error, for example, let's see what the errors are displaying. So if I go to register, so let's see. So for login we are getting the error, and even for register, if you click on anything, so here you are getting the name field is required, email field is required, password field is required, right? We need to catch this error, save it into variable and display it here. Okay, so let's copy this one, paste it here. Okay, so under message, under email, under name, so if I click on here, so you can see the tree here, message, name, 0. So here we need to use the same thing here. So on register error, we need to catch that error and parse it into a JSON and use the same details, save it into variables and display it to the user. So I will use same user data, I will parse it into user data, parse user JSON underscore user data. So So let's add those details to these variables. Dot get. So here it will be message name 0 dot name dot 0. Similarly, email would be okay. Next one is password. Okay, so as we have only few details here, I'm adding only few details, but if you add name, password, governorate and everything, it will limit the messages, so we need to catch them all. So for example, if we try to create Sudipur at demo.com, which is already created, if I try to create this account, try to register it, the email has already been taken, the password field is required, right? So there is a custom message, we'll have to catch them all. So if I add Sudeep5 demo, so I'll add a new password. So if I add a new password and new email ID, it is registering. Perfect. All right, so we need to catch these errors now. So the full name, email and password, right? So once we catch them, we need to display it to the user, and we need to use the same text here. Okay, so if first we need to use, we cannot display all the errors at the same time, right? So let's show only one error at one time. So if the variable full name is equal to 0, okay, not equal to 0, sorry, not equal to empty or not equal to 0, 0 is string, so we have to display the value stored in the full name. So if not, let's use else, copy paste this one, move it to here. So here instead of full name, let's use email, instead of email, okay, done. Similarly again use else, instead of email, now we need to use, what is the next one, password. Okay, done. Okay, so if I try to register, the name field is required. So let's add the name field, click on register again. Email must be a valid email ID. Okay, so let's use the previous email ID I created. Let's try to register. The email ID has already been taken, so let's use the new email ID, and if I try to register, okay, I think all the values are stored in backend, so that is why. Let's do one thing, let's debug the layout to understand the better. Okay, so now everything is empty. So now you are able to see, right, how everything is working. So if I don't enter password, the password field is required, and I'm adding password as 123456. Even in the second confirmation I will do the same. Okay, there is one error with this one. If I add a password again, I need to re-add the email ID. If I add the email ID again, I need to re-add the password. Okay, done. The password must be at least 8 characters. So let's create new account. So created 7 accounts so far. So this will be 78. Okay, done. Name is 0. Alright, anyways, so now you understood how to do it, right? You didn't pick up the name, but that's fine. Okay, so I hope you understood how to do it. I'll just give you a recap. So first we created a login screen which requires email and password with the login button. So here we are using this API reference to login. So when we log in, we require email and password. You know that, right? So we need to send a request to this API with these header types and with this information with the post method. And once you do that, you will get the access token with the token type bearer, and the response is 200. That will be seen in network. Instead of console, you have to go to network, and if that is wrong, you will get a error message with 401 error. Okay, so that we have done with JSON. So what we have done, we first converted the email and password text into JSON and stored them in JSON_login. Okay, so we set the headers to content type and accept to application/JSON, and we have sent the details to JSON_login to post to the login link. And once we get the details, we pass those details into JSON_login access token. So we stored those values into the access token variables, and again we send the details to fetch the user details in this method to API/user with the headers, content type and accept. And we added one more header which is authorization with access type, token type is bearer and access token, and we send those details with the get method to user link. And once we get those details, we pass those details into JSON_user data and save those details into variables. And once we get those details, we go to the user details page and displayed all those details in the text format. And once user has clicked on logout button, again we send a request to the server with request headers, content type, accept and authorization. And once we get the logout completed, user is taken to the login screen again, right? So this is one cycle. Similarly, we have created for register. We require name, email, password confirmation, governor, rate, age and gender. So these are the mandatory fields given by API-register. So all these details are required. So similarly, we need to send content with these headers, content type and accept to API register link. So we added all the input variables here, input texts here, copied all the variables into these variables. And once the user clicked, we added those text into JSON register. We converted them into JSON and we added the headers and sent it to the user the registration link. So once we get the details, we again pass the access token into JSON_access token, added those values from access token into these variables. Again, we send the details to fetch the user details and copied them or passed into JSON underscore data. Right here it is JSON underscore data, and stored those values into variables and displayed it to the user and send them to the user detail screen, so that those details will be displayed here. And if there is an error, we are catching the error using JSON user data and displaying it in the register screen here. Alright, so if they click on logout again, it will take them back to the login screen. Alright, so I hope it's clear. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on my Discord server, or you can send an email. I'm also available for freelance work. I develop a lot of multiplayer and a lot of puzzle casual games. I have good experience in the game development, and also I have good experience in app script, web apps development. You can reach out to me if you need any help. Alright, so that's all for this video, and we'll meet you in the next video. Until then, you take care. Bye bye. See you. Hello there. Thank you for visiting our channel. Shepherd Games is a developer and publisher of video games, websites and applications, and automation. I am Sudeep, the founder of Shepherd Games. I have developed numerous video games ranging from ultra casual to complex real-time multiplayer games, automated process flows with scripting and automation using Google Apps Script, and developed static and dynamic websites and applications. You may review some of my work from the link in the description. Along with self-publishing, I help my clients to achieve their goals with my development services. If you have a requirement, you may write to me or join my Discord server. The contact details are in the description. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do, as more useful content is coming, so you don't miss them.